welcome to episode number 10 of the BK Show podcast. This week, I'm joined by my friend Tom Wang. Tom is the founder of MasterFBA.com, where he teaches people how to get started on Amazon FBA. He's an immigrant. He used to sell hoverboards on Craigslist. He presents in person and almost does like in-person webinars, which I thought was really, really cool take on this type of industry. We deep dive into all of that. I think Tom's fantastic interview. So I hope you enjoy this interview with my good friend, Tom Wang. Man, hey, Tom, welcome to the show, buddy.
Thank you very much for having me. It's such an honor and a pleasure to be on the BK Show.
I love how you get all professional as soon as the record button is hit. Hey, man, so I met you in a mastermind as well. I actually just got done editing episode number 8, which comes out tomorrow as we're recording this, with Abdul, where he brings you up quite a bit as well. I met you in that same mastermind, and then I flew up to Vancouver legitimately just to see you do your thing. Like, you had told me a bunch of times how you sell a course to like what is there, 1 million people in Vancouver?
There's about 1 million. Yeah, about there.
So you sell your course only in Vancouver, and I thought that was like the coolest thing, but I didn't get it at all. Like, I had no idea exactly what you were doing. So I had to fly up there to see. I wanted to see Abdul and Kayvon and Tony. And so I flew up to see you, and the story you told there was amazing to me, honestly. Like, I'm sure it took some time for you to refine that sales pitch, but you spoke for an hour and a half, 2 hours, telling your story. And I was just intrigued. I took pages upon pages of notes in my notes app, but I was like intrigued about your story. I didn't know that much about you. I mean, we hung out at the mastermind a few times and we talked for sure, but I definitely didn't know that story. So I would personally love to dive into that story and just share that with the world, because I think it's a pretty cool story that you got, man. Yeah,
that would be great.
Well, let's jump right back at the beginning, man. The very first note I have in my app is that you're an immigrant from China. So, like, can you talk me through that? What age did you, immigrate to Vancouver from China?
Yeah, so I'm 29 years old, born 1991, lived in China until 2001, and immigrated to Canada actually right after 9/11, 2001. I remember that very, very vividly. So I came to Canada, resided in Vancouver, suburbs called Richmond, where the airport is pretty much. And both of my parents are born and raised in China, and we can talk a little bit more about them a little bit later. But they left everything behind. We didn't have any family here. We didn't have any friends here. So it's literally just my dad, my mom, and myself. And we came here, rented an apartment, and for like $1,200 a month. And that was that. It was a very, very big culture shock, because in China, growing up, education is the most important thing. That is literally what you do from when you can walk and speak to when you graduate university. It's the only thing that you need to care about is education. Like here in Canada, US, North America, growing up, you're supposed to get a job, you're supposed to do paper routes, you're supposed to do different ways to earn a living, starting to earn a little bit of a living. And in China, you don't, like, no one has a job between the ages of from elementary school until university. So there's a lot of these different culture shock that I experienced when I moved here. And another thing is, because China, like, you literally wake up, go to school, come back, have extra tutoring, eat dinner, and then more tutoring, do your homework, and then go to bed. On weekend, tutor, everything. It's insane. But when I got to Canada, school started at like 9:30. In China, school starts like 7:30 or something like that. And then school finished at 2:50. I was like, what? Like, this is insane, because 2:50 would be like our lunch break. And then you got like another 4 hours of school. So when I came here in grade 5, I experienced both sides. And obviously, I prefer the North American way a lot better. And then I see all these kids playing soccer, football, hockey. And all of that. The point I'm telling the story is actually I developed a very, very big clash with my parents, because when I came here, they're like, hey, how come Tom is not actually studying, after classes? How come Tom is not, having more tutoring and stuff like that on weekends, when he's actually going out to play with his friends? So they started being very, very, very controlling of my education growing up, and that actually created a lot of conflict.
So what is a tutor like when you said before you're 10 is when you moved here, right? What is a tutor like when you're learning how to read, and like what are they teaching you other than, you know, helping you read and write better?
Yeah, mostly math actually. I think now that I going a lot of math, a lot of like Chinese, just like writing paragraphs and essays and stuff like that. Yeah. And a lot of actually extracurricular would include like some sort of a musical instrument, right? So you got your piano, you got your I actually play something cool like a clarinet and then a little bit of saxophone. So that's like kind of cool. I was a little bit different. But everybody else like just, you know, learn piano.
Little known fact, I was a state champion tuba player in 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. So not
go.
as cool as the saxophone and clarinet, I'll admit that. But I enjoyed the tuba.
Cooler than the flute though.
So like, what prompted the move to America in the first place then? I mean, if you're getting all the tutoring, you're getting, you know, a ton of schooling, and it sounds like they weren't happy when you came here and you were, you know, playing hockey instead of learning things. What prompted the move in the first place?
My dad actually, so growing up, you know, he grew up in like a really shitty time in China. It was just an absolute shithole. Both of my dad's parents passed away at a pretty early age due to health. And so my dad basically had two options. He said, okay, I can continue and live on this basically a farm, and I can become a farmer, and or I can actually escape this situation, right? I can make a difference and escape the situation. So he did. I don't know what triggered that, because I think that is such now looking back, I'm like, wow, your environment is an absolute shithole. Like my dad, you know, my grandparents, who I don't recall meeting, didn't go to university, didn't come from this, didn't come from that. So the environment wasn't very good, but he made a decision at an early age that he was going to escape that situation. And in China, how you escape that situation is through education, right? So he basically worked during the daytime, went to school. I remember him telling me stories of basically he can't afford electricity. So he would literally study until 3 or 4 a.m. under candlelight. And then the next day he'll get up super early, go get a job, do some work, go to school, do homework, study, rinse and repeat. And then through that commitment, he was actually able to get into a really prestigious university in China. And then from there, he actually graduated at the top of his class. And then he got a job at an engineering firm in China. And with the engineering firm, one of the projects they were doing were, I think, something to do with oil or gold or mining of some sort, natural resources in Africa. So he got to travel to Africa quite a bit and get to meet all these, you know, top leaders. And through that experience, he also ended up in the US. And when he went to the US, it was just like his mind was absolutely blown. He's like, this is a completely different world than China. Completely different. Now, maybe there's some more similarities. In China, you can go to certain districts and you can probably experience a little bit of the Western culture. So if you go to Shanghai, there are certain areas where it's expats only. So it's like you walking down Vancouver in Gastown and the cobblestones and everything like that. Back then, there weren't anything like that. So my dad said, I want Tom, I want my kid, I want my wife to hopefully one day live in the US. And we couldn't go to the US because the immigration law it was very, very tough. So our second best option was actually Canada. So that's how we basically chose Vancouver, I guess.
So had you learned any English before you came here, or did you move here at 10 not speaking a lick of English?
I spoke a lick of English. I spoke a little bit. I went to like an international school in China. Funny story about how I got my name Tom is in grade 2, I went to this international school, and this teacher came from the UK, and she couldn't pronounce any of our Chinese names, right? So what she did was she had a list of boys' names and a list of girls' names, and she went down the aisle and literally started assigning people's names, and I happened to be Tom. Nice. So I'm pretty sure the guy behind me was Jerry. So yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't even know that wasn't your name. Like I was with you in your office and you had signed a contract, or maybe you had just left and I was with Christina and you had just signed something, and I read the name and I was like, who is this? I don't even remember it now. I know it was something I had never heard before for sure.
I have a hidden identity. I'm actually I probably shouldn't say that now. There's Zoom is all listening to us and shit, but I'm safe in Canada.
So
FBI
like,
is not going
y-
to my house.
so you could speak a little bit, right? But I'm sure that transition, like you said, was a little weird. Coming over here and seeing,
Oh yeah.
hockey, let alone, right? Is hockey a thing in China at all?
No,
And
no.
obviously, it's huge in Canada, right?
Yeah, yeah. I spoke some English, but yeah, I got made fun of like when I came here. But what's really interesting is I also remember during the same time, my parents met some local friends, and they also had their kids, and they're all the same age as me. But when they came to Canada, they only hung out with Chinese kids who spoke Chinese. Whereas for me, I only hung out with white kids. Like my best friend growing up, his name is Peter, and we would hang out every single day. And that is how I learned English. It's by hanging out with a white kid, right? So we became best friends, and my English, like, improved significantly compared to everybody else who came to Canada at the exact same time. When I came here, there's a program called ESL, English as Second Language, and in that, obviously in that class, everybody is an immigrant, right? And yeah, I was like the top person just because I hung out with Peter so much. Yeah.
So tell me more about that transition. Like, you said, bringing it back, that your parents weren't super happy with the fact that you weren't getting, the same level of learning you were getting in China. Like, where does it go from there? Did they insist on you getting tutors? Did, obviously I think one of the notes I have here from your talk is they insisted you must go to college.
Yeah. So college was never a option, right? It was always a must. Yeah. Like in China, if you don't go to college, you're pretty much just the bottom of the bottom of society. You got to go to college. That's like not really an option. But yeah, growing up, I remember like I all wanted to all do all these extracurricular activities. My parents would say no. Some because we just didn't have the money. For example, hockey. I was never able to play hockey as a young kid, except I begged my parents so much that they actually decided to take a loan. I think take money out of their mortgage to let me play hockey. I bought all the secondhand equipment, and it was just the most disgusting thing. But it's funny now looking back, like my eyesights were really bad actually growing up, and my parents both wear glasses, and they're like, hey, don't get glasses, because the second you get glasses, you're not gonna, like, you can never get away from them, which is like, what kind of logic is that? Like, if you need glasses, you need glasses. Like, who cares if you can get away with it or not, right? But now looking back, the funny thing is I remember the first time playing hockey, I couldn't even see the fucking puck because I didn't have glasses. And I remember also, like, I'm a pretty small guy. I got body checked really, really hard, and I fell on my my tailbone, and I actually fractured it.
And they said, don't get it fixed or it'll always be broken.
I just laid on bed for like a week, and I actually stopped playing hockey after that. I was like, oh, I don't want to play this anymore. This sucks. So yeah, that was an interesting story about that. But there was just a lot of things, man. Like, we would argue all the time. My dad took on a new venture because he's an engineer, and when he came to Canada, he can't be an engineer anymore, because if he wants to be an engineer, he has to basically go through school again and get certified, which he doesn't have time for and money for. So he just took on like an odd job, and then he met someone through church. My parents they're both very religious, and the person at church said, hey, like, I have this skincare line. Do you want to basically be my distributor in North America? Because it was a Chinese skincare line. My dad's like, sure. And then he started this business venture. He has no experiences of being an entrepreneur. He's never started his own business before. He's always worked in the corporate job. And he actually decided to, first he launched a skincare line in Canada. Obviously no e-commerce or anything. It was through just traditional distribution, dollar stores and stuff like that. And then he figured out that the market in the States is much bigger. So what he did then is he actually decided to move to LA. He opened up his business in LA. My mom stayed with me all these years. So my dad's in LA, and they're not divorced or anything. My dad's in LA, my mom's here. My dad will come back once every 3 or 4 months. And my mom at the time was pretty much like, she's not a single mother, but she kind of is at the same time. She doesn't have a husband under the roof, and I was being rebellious. So it was just this whole complete shit show. Like, our family was always fighting. I was always hiding things from my parents, and I can never tell them anything because I feel like if I tell them something, they will just judge me. They will say, "Oh, that's wrong. Don't do that." So I just did a lot of things that they don't know about. And yeah, more and more and more tension created, and that tension really, I mean, I don't want to talk about too much, but it really carried from like when I got to Canada up until I would say like 20, like 23, 24 after graduating from college.
Yeah, I can't imagine like having my dad be away for 3 to 4 months, or my wife, or however you want to look at that from a different perspective. That's insane. Like, I'm sure he was doing what he could to make things work out, but that had to seem pretty chaotic as a kid.
Yeah. No, I didn't think about it too much at the time. Whenever he leaves, because I'm more scared of my dad than my mom. So
Aren't we all?
whenever he's gone, I kind of like, oh, freedom. Like I can do whatever I want, right? When my dad's back, I'm like, oh shit, I better behave. So when I was to get my ass whooped.
So I remember you like mentioning some entrepreneurial stuff too, like even in China, right? So forgive me, I don't remember the story, but it was like pencils or something in China.
Yeah. So like when I went to international school, that's when my dad started working in, Africa and the States. And when he went to the States, every single time he goes there, he will actually bring me back something. So, dude, let me tell you a different story. Actually, so it's so weird. When I was like 2 or 3 years old, I was basically, there's a picture of me in my living room, and I was wearing I was butt naked, okay? Butt naked with my little wee-wee hanging out. And I was wearing this little shirt, and on it says Canada. And in the back of my living room, there was a painting of Banff in Canada. So it was super weird that I ended up in Canada. But having said that, the story of my dad is he would always bring back these utensils or pencils and pens and things like that to obviously help me for my studies. And he brought back these like big pens. And in China, there's no such thing at the time. It was all just made in China brands. And when I brought these back, I remember bringing them to school, and I was like the coolest kid. Like everybody's like, "Whoa, what is that? What is that?" And I remember I'm like, "Oh, I have like 50 of these. I don't need all 50. I can sell these to people." So I sold them for like $2 a pen, and I will make like 20, 30 bucks. And with that money, I can buy candy and stuff like that after school. So I struck a deal with a teacher. I said, "Can I put a poster up on the door?" So that way I have, extra advertising, and everybody who goes through the door has to see it, and they can contact me. So yeah, that was like my very first business venture.
Pre 10 years old, you already knew how to put flyers up, make negotiations in order to get your marketing up. Did you have to cut the teacher in too?
I don't remember. Maybe. I forget.
So when you came over to Canada, obviously there's a little more entrepreneurial spirit on this side of the world, I think. Maybe I'm wrong. Did that transition over here? Did you start importing Chinese things and start selling them in high school in Vancouver?
No, I did some other stuff. I mean, there's a list of stuff I tried, man. I tried everything I can to like make a little bit of extra money. I remember there's a bank called Tangerine, and they were having this promotion where if you get someone else to sign up through your affiliate link, you get $100 for the first 10 signups, then $200 for the next 10, then $500 for the next 10. So I did all the math. I'm like, if I get 50 people, I can make like $5,000 or something like that. So what I did was first I hit up all my friends on Facebook, right? Then I actually made like posts on Craigslist. I'm like, guys, this is not a scam. Like, this is Tangerine. All you got to do is sign up through this link. You get $100, I get $100, is a win-win. And I made a bunch of money that way. That's just one example. So whenever I see like different ways to make money, I would just try to figure out like, hey, how can I make some money? I mean, I scalped when I was really into like EDM. Whenever there's concerts coming in, depending on who the DJ is, if they're a big DJ, hey, I'm going to buy like 10 tickets and then I'm going to scalp them. But if it's a smaller DJ, I don't buy it. I've done, paper routes. That's not really an entrepreneurial journey. That's more of a job. But even in the paper routes, like I remember, there are certain houses that care about papers, right? Like some houses, they don't give a shit. Like they never read the paper, so they don't care. So what I would do is I would actually not deliver paper for like 2 weeks and see which houses complain, because they will show up in my next statement. It'll be like, this house didn't get their paper, this house didn't get their paper. And then what I'll do, I will only deliver to those houses. So instead of like a 2-hour paper route, it'll just be 20 minutes. And then just different ways to scheme the system, I guess.
See, and I had a paper route as well, but I was more focused on like who would give the gifts. I don't know if you got Christmas presents or anything from certain people on the route. Like I had to collect payments from certain people on the route. I'm not sure why. I always thought that was weird. But all the people that I collected payments from, and then the people that I knew gave me a gift at any holiday, I was just amazing to, right? Like I would handle the paper to them. I would ring their doorbell. That's as far as I would. It's pretty, I mean, what are you, like 14 delivering papers? It's pretty gangster to be like, yeah, you're not even paying attention to whether you get the paper or not. I'm just going to skip you and move along.
Yeah. I remember one night it was pissing rain. It was so cold and I was delivering paper in a little yellow rain jacket. And I remember, I'll never forget, this guy gave me $5. He was coming back from work and yeah, I felt so rich, man. Like that $5 felt like $1 million. Like it was $5 bill. Like it felt, I don't think money has ever felt as good as when I received that $5 from that person, like ever. And I'm not joking. Like that's a serious statement. I know it sounds funny, but I will never forget that night. But yeah.
So I want to move on to like the next part where like, you go to school, right? Parents insisted you go to school. The next note I have is like, I flunked out. And I'm sorry if I'm going note for note on here, but like I was captivated, man. I was in a room with like 200 people. It was dark. I was in the back. I had a grin ear to ear the entire time. I'm sorry, man. I was giddy. I was like, hell yeah, you're doing a great job. So like it says you flunked out and that 17 to 23, you just wasted your life. Talk me through like the whole college years. And obviously, you know, being Chinese, as you like to state, you were forced to go to school, right?
Yeah, so I went to a school called UBC. Basically, after I got to school, there was a lot of frat parties and stuff like that. And there's also, you can stay on campus. So what I did was I told my parents, like, I want to stay on campus because I was going to, you know, meet all these people and get a better experience. But more importantly, just like get away from them and just like live life a little bit to my own. They're like, okay, you can live on campus, but you have to come back on weekends. And I was like, okay, seems fair, right? So I came back on weekends and I went to school on Sunday nights and whatnot. And yeah, like I remember going to classes and I just took like whatever class that was the easiest, whatever class that basically seemed somewhat interesting to me. And it was just a waste of time. I mean, you go to a lecture hall, there's 300 kids, you pick a seat, the professor doesn't know your name, you don't know the professor's name. They go over some stuff that has nothing to do with the real world. And I'm just sitting there taking notes, trying my best to focus. And to me, at the end of the day, it was a complete waste of time. And I got really demotivated. So by me staying on campus, I just basically partied and stopped going to classes, wake up at 3 p.m., go to sleep at 3 a.m., and skip everything in between. And then after the very first semester, I actually got kicked out of UBC because my grades were super, super low. I had like a 40% average. I remember I didn't withdraw and I didn't even end up going to the finals because I didn't know anything. I ended up getting like 8% in math, in calculus, which is like pretty hard to do if you think about it, 8%. So yeah, I got kicked out and showed the letter to my parents. They basically were obviously super disappointed. But then I told them, hey, don't worry, I can go to this other college. It's cheaper. I can take the same classes and all the credits are transferable. So I did that. And again, I went to these classes and I'm like, wow, what am I learning in school? Very demotivated, basically flunked out of that school. Then went to the third school. Again, history repeated itself. So I got kicked out of 3 schools back to back to back. At that time, a lot of my friends were already getting internships. They were graduating. And I was like, shit, I better get my stuff together. Like, what am I doing with my life? During that time, I would be playing poker. I would be going out drinking. I'd be smoking weed. I'd be just, honestly, looking back, I don't know where those years went. It was like I said, it's, if I can draw like a picture book of my life, like between the ages of 18 after high school to like 23, it would just be blank pages because I don't know where those years went. It just flew by. But then, but I believe everything happens for a reason, right? Like I truly, truly believe that. So the fourth year, I went to a school called BCIT, where everything I learned in school were actually a lot more applicable. So accounting, we learned how to read financial statement. I'm like, oh, this is interesting. Like, what is a P&L statement, right? What is a balance sheet? So that's cool. English class, we didn't learn how to write essays. Instead, we learned how to conduct like a job interview, which is pretty useful. So just all these different things. I was like, this is cool. And then I met some good friends at BCIT because it doesn't operate like a university where you go in and there's 300 people in a lecture hall. You actually get put into cohorts. So you're always with them. So there's more accountability. So that was really cool. And yeah, it's been, and after 2 years, I graduated. I got pretty good grades. I actually tried to do well, and I did do well. And after that, basically BCIT is really well known for you can get employed right away after you get a job because there's internships that you can do during. And for internships, like I should have basically applied my internship at a big company, but I decided to actually like ask my friend. I'm like, hey, can I do an internship with you? He's like, sure. And then we ended up just like faking everything. I didn't do the internship. But everybody else who did an internship with every other company actually got a job right away after after their internship is over. So everybody got a job after class was over in May. And I'm like, okay, I need to start applying for jobs. And I applied for like 10, 15 jobs and nobody wanted me. And I remember going to this one particular job. The founder started a very successful software company. I think it's called Absolute or something like that. They're a software company. And then now he started a new venture, which is essentially, I actually wonder how well they're doing now, but it's essentially a app where in hospitals, doctors are still using pagers, which is insane. So he created this app where it replaces pagers. So he's like, okay, base salary is like 80K, 90K. You got to talk to like doctor professionals and sell them this app. So I'm like, this is the best opportunity ever. And I really want to work for you. And at that time, I already got like 8 to 12 different job rejections. So I was so desperate that I was willing to make them a deal. I said, let me just work for you for free for 3 months. And if you don't like me by the end of the third month, hey, let's cut ties. But I can guarantee you that I'll be like the best employee you ever have. And they're like, no, sorry, you're not skilled enough, you're not experienced enough, you're not good culture fit, blah, 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 all that type of shit. And that was really the bottom, man. Like, I remember just thinking to myself, I'm like, what am I doing wrong here? Like, everybody else graduated university from one university. I went through 4. Like, what am I, like, do I really not have the potential to succeed in life? Even though I knew I did, but I started kind of questioning myself. But during that time, I just kept on reaching out to ex-BCIT alumni. A lot of them work in different companies. And one girl, her name is Megan, she's like, you should check out Yellow Pages. I'm like, Yellow Pages? Like, I don't want to sell no Yellow Pages. Like, come on, I'm not that desperate. She's like, no, like, I heard you can make some good money there. I was like, okay, well, I guess I don't really have any other options. Let me go do that. So I applied at Yellow Pages in 2015. And I got a job. I went for an interview and I got hired right away because the base salary is $22,000 a year, which is minimum wage. So their whole hiring strategy is if they think if you can pick up the phone and dial and speak English, we'll hire you. We'll give you a fair shot. And after 3 months, if you suck, you're out, right? So they're like, okay, we'll give you a shot. And I got hired in August 2015, and yeah, that's basically the first time I stepped into an office and sat in a cubicle. And it was the best experience I ever would have. It was the best experience ever because my job was cold calling 100 people per day for 2 years. And that teach you shit, man. That teach you stuff.
I don't think you're alone in the fact that 18 to 23, you were screwing around, right? Like, I can certainly relate. Like, I don't remember much of 18 to 23. All my friends went to college. And so I moved to the college town and didn't go to college and just like worked and drank a bunch of beer with them. And like, yeah, definitely looking back, man, I can see that entire period of my life, went to waste for sure. Like, so I totally get that. But like fast forwarding to Yellow Pages, man, talk to me about the cold calling and the lessons you learned from there. Cause I think most people are scared of failure and they're scared of rejection. And there's nothing besides going door to door. Like I talked to Abdul about a couple episodes ago, besides going door to door, cold calling's the same way, right? Like, you're going to get rejected a lot. You're going to lose a lot. And, it's either going to kill you or it's going to push you forward into, having thick skin and realizing a win's going to come eventually.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so I got the job and base salary is $22,000 and I wanted to make $100,000 out of school. Like that was my goal. I did some weird stuff I remember reaching out to people on LinkedIn and just asking people, I'm like, hey, I see you graduated from BCIT. How much money did you make after the first year? They're like, who the fuck is this guy? And I would some people actually replied. They're like, yeah, I made 6 figures. I was like, yo, let's talk, man. I want to know, first of all, what does it feel like? They're like, it feels normal. Doesn't feel like anything. I was like, okay, cool. How did you do it? Right. So I wasn't afraid to approach people and ask people questions. I think that's one of the, my skills. It's just, I don't give a shit.
Dude, you still have that. I know. I've seen you do it, and I'm like, how, you have no. I don't even know how to describe it. Like you just. You don't put anybody on a pedestal. You don't really care. You just, if you want an answer, you go ask the source.
But I'm genuinely interested. I'm really, really interested.
But I think we all are. But I know personally, I'm scared shitless to go walk up to certain people and ask them questions. Like there's some people on my podcast list who I've hung out with, I played poker with, and I really want to ask them to just be on my podcast. And you're like, oh, right, okay, just call them up. I don't know. Yeah. I admire that about you, man. I saw it right away in the beginning, and I was just like, holy shit, this guy has some big cojones, man.
Yeah, for sure. Again, don't know where that come from, but it's definitely benefited me quite a bit throughout this journey. And yeah, anyway, at Yellow Pages, I remember $22,000 was the base salary, and I saw this guy named Pavan stepping into our training the very first day. He's like, oh, I made $250,000 last year. And I was like, what? How much you make? 250,000. I'm like, what's your base salary? It's like, same as yours. I'm like, really? Interesting. So you're saying that if I can just make 50% of what you make, I will hit my goal of 100,000. So I was like, all right, well, let me just do everything you do then. So basically I came up to him after. I'm like, hey, my name is Tom, right? I want to learn how to make some money. I want to learn how to sell. Can you teach me? And then he's like, all right, well, here are all my, video recordings and stuff like that, or call recordings and stuff like that. Feel free to listen to them, and I can basically, feel free to listen to them, and you'll learn a lot through sales from that way, because everything is on the phone, so everything's recorded. So that's what I did, man. I wrote everything down. I wrote everything down. I practiced in front of a mirror. I put them on my phone. I would listen to them on the way to work, on the way back from work. I would just listen to these call recordings all day, every day, until I sounded exactly like Pavan over the phone. But more importantly, I noticed that Pavan is someone who's always in the top, not only of results, but also how much you worked. Because at Yellow Pages, we track how many calls you make per day and how long you talk for. So I said, all right, I'm going to say what he says, but at the same time, I'm also going to try to outwork him. So there's been days where I was consistently the top person, making the most amount of calls and talking the most on the phone. And that translated to success, right? That translated to success. So, I mean, you play poker. So in poker, it doesn't matter about the outcome. You can have aces. I can have aces. You can have kings. We both go in pre-flop. You win 18% of the time, right? King. Does that mean I played bad? Does that mean aces? Oh, I made a bad play? Hell no, right? You made a great play. You do that all day, every day. But sometimes you're going to lose. And I really learned to be not result-oriented, but process-oriented. And what are the different things that you can pull along this in the process journey that will hopefully yield you the best result? So at Yellow Pages, it was literally 2 things. Your call activity, just how hard you hit the phone and how much you talk, as well as what you say on the phone. And every single rejection that I get, I'm like, good. I'm glad I got rejected. You know why? Because the next call is one call closer to that yes.
Right.
So I actually get a little bit worried that the first 5 calls I'm making that day, I get a sale, because I'm like, shit, now the rest of my day, like, I'm not going to get a sale, because it's truly, truly a ratio. It's like you have a closing ratio, so maybe 5%. So if you make 100 calls, you get that 5, right? So I knew what my ratio was, and it was very low at Yellow Pages. I mean, you're selling, like, you're cold calling people, man. It was like low single digits. So I would just bang out the phones. I would just keep dialing. And I would just work. And after the first year, Pavin finished number 2 in the entire country, and I finished number 3. So I made a little bit over. I made $155,000 after the first year, and that was huge to me. I was like, fuck yeah. That was the first $5. Okay, that $5 story that I told you was the best. That felt like $1 million. This is the second best, because seeing that $155,000 on my T4 from the government was like, fuck everything else you learned in school. All that doesn't matter. This is the real world now, and you've done it in the real world. This is like, all that theory, all that bullshit doesn't matter. Like, I see guys that graduated same year as me, straight A's. They're making like $50,000-$60,000 a year. I just did 155, and the best part is that this was through just pure hard work. Just, there was nothing else, man. It was like pure just activities, phone call after phone call after phone call, and that really helped me to frame my mind for success. I really carry that mentality to everything else I do now. If I fail at something, good, because next thing I do is going to be one step closer to success. You want to be successful? Good. Like, put in the work, like track your hours. How many hours a day are you working? Because that all have a direct reflection of, of your results. And obviously you don't want to leave anything to chances. You want to make sure everything is skewed your way. And the best way to do that is by putting in the work. I
got to ask you though, was mom and dad happy?
Yeah, I think they were very happy. I think they were, I told them how much money I'm making. They thought I was lying to them. Like, they literally didn't believe me. They're like, no way. Like, you're not, there's no way you're making. I'm like, this is my paycheck. Like, look at this from Yellow Pages.
That doesn't fit like what they had planned for you though, right?
No. So like, they were very, very surprised. But I think they always knew deep inside as well. I think they always, it's a surprise, but I think they knew.
So how old are you at this time? Like 25?
25, yeah. So
you made it, right?
Yeah. I was bored after, because I remember like after the first year, I'm like, man, like what do I do now? Like, you hit, like, I kind of like, should I go for second place or should I go for first place? But even if I go for first place, I don't think it's going to bring me that much fulfillment and happiness. So it just became kind of a routine. Now I'm going to my job, talking to the same people, doing the same stuff. I got bored, man. I got really bored. And I started basically exploring other options. And when I first started at Yellow Pages, I was trying to sell these hoverboards. And basically, that was kind of my gateway into Amazon, because as I was working at Yellow Pages, I had a little side hustle and selling these hoverboards on Craigslist and stuff like that. And someone approached me and said, hey, I sell these on Amazon. Let me partner up with you. And I said, Amazon, sure. Let's see what you got. He ended up selling a lot through Amazon. I found out about Amazon while I was working at Yellow Pages. So when I was working at Yellow Pages, I would be working at Yellow Pages throughout the day. When I come back home, me and Christina, my girlfriend, my business partner, would be working on our Amazon business. So year 2 at Yellow Pages, our Amazon business is generating like $5,000 or $8,000 per month in sales. So it's kind of cool. Like, I got 2 things going now. And I remember I'll be working on my Amazon stuff while I was at Yellow Pages. I just got really bored of my job. And yeah, I had no desire to basically be the number 3, number 4, number 5.
Yeah, that was my question, man. You're 25, you're making $150K, which is like what, 42,000 American. So that's amazing. And so like, why would you even have a side hustle, right? At 25, if I was making 150, I'm throwing in the towel, right? At 25, you think your whole life's in front of you, you're invincible, especially with that kind of money. So what made you even like start the side hustle? Because I'm sure there's a ton of people listening who are like thinking about starting.
I've always had that interest, man. Like I told you, like I've done so many things before that. I remember when I was helping my dad with his skincare product, I would go to LA, go to Vegas, help him to set up his trade show. After the trade show, I'd walk around. I met these guys from New York that was selling these big bling bling watches. I bought 50 watches, borrowed money from my dad. It was like $250, bought them, put them in my suitcase, carried them across the border. I don't know how they didn't stop me. Like, truthfully, I'm like, bling bling watches, but I went through the customs and I went through customs and I sold them on the streets of Vancouver. I remember there's one day I got this new batch of inventory in and they weren't selling very well, but I knew that I had to basically sell them. I remember putting them in a suitcase, dragging them across downtown and approaching people, be like, hey, I sell these watches. Do you want to buy some watches? Dude, it was bizarre, man. Now looking back, that's real hustle right there. Like, I kind of miss that. I don't have that anymore these days, I don't think.
You know what it reminds me of is when I went to the Canton Fair in China and then I went to Hong Kong for a couple days. Yeah. And you couldn't walk a block in Hong Kong without like somebody stopping out and, hey man, you look good in this watch. Or in Thailand, right? Everywhere you go, hey big man, you want to get a new suit? You look real good in a new suit, right? Like everybody's hustling all the time.
Yeah, man. I did a bunch of stuff like that, and dude, man, I don't remember a lot of the things. I wish I kept a journal, but everything that had a dollar sign that can produce some sort of a money, I would try to do it, and I try to do it in a different way. I try to find an easy way, a hack, if you will, to do it, to get it done.
What is it about the cash? What is it about money that you were just like, I need to have it? What was the shiny object back then that money was going to get you?
I don't remember, man. I honestly don't remember. It was just fun. It was like cool. It was just a cool thing. It's like, hey, you can make money yourself. Like, it was cool. Like, you make $100. You don't need someone to pay. Like, you don't need a job to get you $100. Like, you can make $100. Like, it was just cool. I was like, I mean, don't you want to make $100, Ben? Like, I want to make $100.
Of course, right? Yeah, all right, man. Talk
Benjamins,
me through.
Come on.
Yeah, there you go. Talk me through the hoverboards, man, because this is back like I remember when that explosion happened, and it didn't take long before literally explosions happened, if I remember right, with these hoverboards. So, like, talk me through, like, number one, how did you like even get started? You just found them on some site or something, or like before Amazon? How did you even know about like importing anything or bringing them over?
I was just applying for jobs at home, and one day I saw this thing on Alibaba, and I'm like, this is the coolest thing ever. And I saw a couple guys riding it in Vancouver. I was like, that is the coolest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. Like, what is that? That's pretty sweet. It's like you're standing on this thing and it just hovers and it's got wheels. Like, that's cool. And I'm like, okay, I want to buy one. So I bought one, and I would ride them around everywhere. And everywhere I went, people stopped me. Where do I buy one? Where'd you get it? How much was it? I had $5,000 to my name. I'm like, okay, I know exactly where to use this money for. So I bought like 5 or 6 hoverboards or something like that, and imported them. And that's what I learned about importing. Holy shit! Importing that was it was a headache. First of all, it had battery inside. So battery is considered dangerous goods, and you need all these different forms to get it through the customs. That was number one. Number two, the thing was so bulky. It was so heavy. So air shipping was so expensive, right? And it had a lot of moving parts. So this is the electronic. And I remember when they get to Vancouver, like 50% of them were defective. Like, I would ride on it, and would just have like, it would just like bounce up and down. It was like having a seizure or something. So I learned how to fix these hoverboards because I had to. I got them to send me the motherboards and just replace them and fix them and stuff like that. And yeah, I mean, that was the hoverboard. That was my first little e-commerce gig. I created a website and everything, and I didn't know anything about Facebook pixels. I didn't know anything about email marketing. I didn't know anything about retargeting. I had no idea. I thought, create a Facebook page, create an Instagram page, and you're good to go. But obviously, that's not the case. It's not that easy. So, but that's when I got approached. No, I didn't sell any of them on my own website. They were only sold on Craigslist.
Okay.
I was meeting up people in their houses in sketchy places and parking lots and selling these hoverboards.
Then what? Like, how did you meet the Amazon guy? Tell me about that.
Oh, yeah, and then sorry, I thought you froze. The guy basically connected me through a mutual friend, and he's like, I sell products on Amazon. At the time, he had a supplement business. I think it was doing like 30K a month. I was like, holy shit, this is crazy. So he just partnered up with me. He's like, I'll help you to sell these hoverboards. I take 50%, you take 50%. I'm like, done deal. And he just asked me for some photos with an FBM. And the second day, like, orders start coming in. I'm like, this is incredible. This is insane. And I just, because I live so close to Point Roberts, Washington, it's about a 30-minute drive. And I just went across the border, dropped them off, shipped them out. And yeah, that was that.
So you just can drive over in your car and head to a post office on the other side of the border?
Yeah, and then I think I got my Nexus taken away because I kept on forgetting to, because it's a commercial good. You're supposed to fill all these paperwork, and one day they decided to just basically take my Nexus away, which sucked.
How did they know?
They just stopped me. They're like, "What are you doing with the hoverboards?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm like, I sell them." They're like, "Okay, well, you need to declare duties on these," and I just kept on. I just stopped, and I just didn't do it. And they're like, "Okay, screw this kid and take away my Nexus." Yeah.
Nice. So at any point, FBM, by the way, is fulfilled by merchant, right? So you were shipping them out. Was FBA around back then? I'm not sure what year this is for you. So where's the transition from FBM to FBA, which is, something you teach now?
Yeah, so FBA, I discovered Amazon, obviously, and I'm like, this is super cool. And hoverboard was basically dead at that time because things are exploding and it just wasn't a good product to sell. And I'm like, okay, well, I still want to sell on Amazon, so maybe I can start this journey fresh. And I learned how to sell on Amazon, basically just on YouTube, on Google. Not a lot of information, but Jungle Scout and stuff like that. And decided to launch like a vitamin C serum because of how crazy the market is. And I remember 2 or 5 days before we launched, Amazon came down with a review ban saying you can no longer buy reviews. At the time, you can still buy reviews. Amazon's like, nope, you can't buy reviews anymore. And we're like, okay, what the hell do we do? And we ended up just, getting a bunch of reviews on through family and friends. And that was kind of our first product. Launched that in January 1st, 2017. Learned a lot because it was a pretty tough niche. Like, it was pretty tough. But we launched a second product, which is a silicone makeup sponge. That product sucked because it was a fad. By the time we launched, the entire market had died. A lot of Chinese sellers. Price point dropped from $15 to $4. No money to be made. No demand. And at that time, I actually wanted to quit Amazon because I had this great paying job at Yellow Pages. But Christina was like, no, let's not, quit. We should keep doing this. And I'm like, okay, let's launch one more product. If it doesn't do well, we're not going to do this anymore. And we ended up launching the third product and, 10 units a day, 20 units a day, 30 units a day, 40 units a day. I was on top of the world, man. I was like, holy shit, I got this figured out. And then boom, Amazon took down our listing. That's like, what the hell, right? Oh, this sucks. And spent a month to get, that's the first time that I kind of had to deal with Amazon for a long time, and that sucked. And got it back. I'm like, sweet. And then Q4 was huge, and then I quit my job at the end of 2018. Okay, 2018, 2017, 2018, 2017, I quit my job. December 14, 2017, I believe. So I was doing Amazon full time, and I had this YouTube channel, so I had a little bit of an audience. And I'm like, hey, let me monetize my audience. Let me teach them about Amazon as well. I was charging them. I remember I was doing a beta class. There were 50 students. I charged them each $100 per month to learn Amazon from me. And that's $5,000 a month. I was like, this is insane. This is absolutely crazy. $5,000 a month. So that's kind of the start of my coaching career as well.
There's so much to unpack in there. So number one, you talked about your second product flopping with the price driving down. So behind me, I've got my first product, which is gel pens. And I thought I was just hitting this crazy market that was going off with gel pens and adult coloring books. And by the time I got my first container sold, which was, it sold out in a month, or my first like shipment came over, the next one comes over, and all of a sudden all the competitors are just lowering their price and lowering their price and lowering their price and lowering their price. So I totally, like, you talked about two different issues of Amazon there, right? There's the commodity side where Amazon, I feel, is, it's driving prices to almost a non-competitive place in certain markets. And then you talked about the other side of like Amazon shutting you down. Do you want to dive into any of that? You've been in the Amazon game for a little bit of time here, right? I read a lot of horror stories online. I've never experienced really any of them. There's been some that aren't great for sure. I've had some competitors drive some negative reviews at me. And so, got to figure out a way to get some reviews back. But you taught for a while and you've experienced a lot. Like, talk to me about some of the downsides of selling on Amazon, because realistically, it's pretty great. I'm not gonna lie. Like, a lot of people buy there, right? Like 50% of all e-commerce transactions happen there. But on the seller side of things, it can suck sometimes.
Yeah. Amazon cares a lot more about buyers than sellers. That's for sure. In fact, I have a few Amazon accounts. 4 of them just went down about a month ago, simply because I changed my credit card.
Jesus, 4 of them?
Dude, yeah, it went down. I changed my credit card. I live in Canada. I have a USD credit card that's in the US. And because Canada, US, 2 different countries, they're like, this is high risk. Suspended my account. All the other accounts got suspended as well with it, because if you have one account suspended, all the other accounts get suspended. It was a complete nightmare. It was bullshit. But anyway, I got it back. Other ones are obviously competitors. There's a lot of black hat activities in some niches. Some niches doesn't have any, but some competitors, they literally put like an insert card that says, hey, like, review my product, I'll give you $5, $10. That's like as black hat as it gets, but they get away with it, which is really frustrating sometimes. I've had people basically buying negative reviews on my products as well. That's that. And what else? Amazon will basically, you have to prove you're innocent until, you have to prove you're innocent first with Amazon. That's the biggest thing. That's really, really annoying and really frustrating. They don't give you a warning. They don't give you a heads up. It'll be nice if you can find out what the actual issue is. They don't really tell you that either. So you gotta guess. So that's really frustrating. But at the same time, again, there's a lot of pros, right? There's a lot of upside to that. So
yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of other stuff too. I definitely have heard of a lot of stories. My account got shut down, or my listing got shut down. I'm, thankfully I haven't really dealt with that. I had one listing go down where Amazon received my product wrong. So they were selling the wrong product or shipping the wrong product. I sell pet supplements, right? So one of them's vegetarian, and they were sending the non-vegetarian version out, which could kill people's dogs. So I guess I don't blame them for getting mad. And then right now I have 2 products in an Amazon LTL trailer that have been sitting in a parking lot for months. Like, frustrating to say the least, right? And so I don't know. I'm glad you talked a little bit about it. I'm sure you could deep dive even further. I'm sure you've heard a lot of horror stories. But talk to me about like where you actually learned. Obviously, a lot of people take courses. I know you didn't, right? So talk to me about like the fact that you where you learned, and then why you saw a flaw in that, which actually got you to start teaching yourself.
I just learned on YouTube and Google. That's basically what I learned. And I remember like following all these YouTubers and these guys' advice, and I would apply them, and I realized that after, a lot of them don't even sell on Amazon, which was insane. Like, they were teaching things and they don't practice what they preach. So there was a lot of information on Amazon of how great it is, but at the same time, no one's showing their numbers transparently. So I decided to basically I decided to start a YouTube channel because I've actually always been interested in like photography and videography and stuff like that. Like, growing up, I remember I had a little camera and I would make like cool little videos on Windows Movie Maker and just with a little camera. So like, I actually really enjoyed that side of things, like the creativity side of things. So I decided to launch this YouTube channel, and people actually watched it. I was like, this is insane. Like, people liked it and whatever. And so I wanted to document kind of the more authentic and raw side of creating an Amazon business from the beginning. I have videos on my YouTube channel where I talk about the day that my account got suspended, the day that I quit my job, the day that we made, $50,000 in one day in sales to an influencer, and so on and so forth. So, just been documenting the journey. But I will say, like, lately I've been haven't been doing a good job at that. I should do more. I will do more. I will create more content. But yeah, that's one of the reasons why I decided to launch, a YouTube channel, is because I just feel like a lot of guys out there, they got the Lambo, they got the houses, and they got the cool music in the background. Then they attract, those people that are. So yeah,
I think it comes on every platform though, right? Like I got big into TikTok before coronavirus happened, and everybody got big into TikTok, and I'm going to call them they were on there too, right? They were like, I'm doing this at home, and you can make big dollars, and realistically, you can make a Shopify screenshot, say whatever you want to, or an Amazon screenshot, say whatever you want to. So, like, yeah, it's hard to learn, man. I do want to talk about like your course and what you teach and why you teach the way you teach, because I think paying for your education, number one, you're probably going to learn from somebody who's actually done it, and then number two, like, paying for it actually gets you to do it. So I'm totally with you on the YouTube influencers. But how did your transition go from, like, you're documenting your journey, which I think is pretty cool. Everybody can go check you out on YouTube. I'll put something in the show notes for that. But how did that transition into, like you just said, coaching? You were charging $100 a month to what did you say, 50 people? How did that turn into that? And then, like, where did that go from there? What is Ecom Hub? Obviously, is something else that you were part of as well.
Yeah. It was interesting. So basically, like I said, the very first class that I did, it was 50 people, $100 per person, and that's it. That was it. And after that, I'm like, this is pretty cool. Like, wow, this is insane. Like, people actually will pay me for information. So I'm like, okay, like, what else can I do? So I decided to basically launch a course. Decided to partner up with David, and we formed the Ecom Hub. And we launched a 6-week boot camp, and it went really, really well. People loved it. We charged a little bit higher ticket. I think it was $500 this time, and we had like over 100 people in it. So that was really, really cool. And then after that is where we started getting a little too cute. We're like, hey, like, should we keep doing this, or should we launch a course? So on and so forth. And we're like, hey, let's launch a course. So we launched the course, and I think there was a lot of executional errors. I think there was a lot of things that we had the right intention to do, but when it comes to execution, such as building the funnels, running the Facebook ads, we just weren't good at it, creating the Facebook ads and stuff like that. So, we worked on that project for like over a year. And then after a year, at one point I'm just like, yeah, David, I don't think this is working out. I mean, we haven't like done much in the past year. And I just felt like it's probably better off if we both split ways. So we did. We split ways. We're still friends. We still talk. Nothing against the guy. Great dude. But we just weren't the right partners for that business. And then I started teaching people locally here in Vancouver, because a friend of mine in Singapore does the same thing, and he taught me how to do it. So basically I just started running local traffic, and that was really cool because people want to see someone live. People are sick and tired of seeing these YouTube ads and stuff like that, and people want to, experience something live. So I had a lot of people coming up live, and you saw the room yourself. There's over 100 people in it, and I basically have a 2-hour presentation, and at the end, I sell them on a weekend workshop, and where I teach them how to start their own Amazon business. So that's been super rewarding, and I was doing that for over a year. Sometimes once, 2 times a month, sometimes usually once a month. I have 60 people coming here, pay me like $3,000 a month. $3,000 a person. So the money was great, and I was really, really enjoying it. It was very fulfilling because you're literally teaching these people in person. I love the in-person interaction, not the virtual stuff. But everything was going well until obviously COVID hit, and that went to literally zero. I had to cancel all my presentations. The UBC school shut down. And the funniest part is I got kicked out of UBC, and I went back to UBC to teach people how to make money on Amazon. So it's like full circle, and that's my favorite part of the journey. But
Dude,
having said that,
can we break down the actual in-person stuff? Because that's what fascinated me, right? At the beginning of the show, and I told you in person multiple times in California, I'm like, I got to get up to Vancouver. I have to see you do this because I don't even understand it really. I'm shocked that, legitimately shocked that a city of 1 million people, that you can run Facebook ads and YouTube ads, I would assume, to get people in a room and say, I'm going to teach you Amazon. Can you walk us through that business model? Is that something you're okay talking about?
Yeah. So very simple. I mean,
what does a Facebook ad say? What are you telling people you're going to give them, and what are you charging them?
I'm from Vancouver. I made it. I'm rich on Amazon. I'm just kidding. I'm from Vancouver. This is my story. This is how you can sell on Amazon. If you want to learn from me, click here. They click on there, go to a landing page, more information about what I'm going to tell them on this live webinar, where the location is, what they're going to get. Click on the link to purchase your ticket, $20 with date and time. Show up on that date and time, sit down, listen to Tom speak for 2 hours. Obviously a very well-versed pitch. And then at the end of the pitch, it's presented with you another option. Hey, go do this by yourself if you want. But if you want a shortcut, if you want to learn from me, then here's the price you have to pay. Here's the date. Come there. So I go there. And those 2 days, I teach them how to sell on Amazon.
You zip through that, and I'm going to break it down because I thought it was amazing. First off, you're charging people $20, right? Did you split test that? I mean, people run ads to webinars all the time, right? You're not paying $20 to go to this webinar, let alone it's not even, air quotes live, right? It's just some recorded bullshit. And so, like, where did you decide to charge $20, and like, did you split test that against free and like the show up rate?
I didn't actually. I didn't. No, I didn't. But that's I never. I never split test. The reason why I think $20 was fair was because, first of all, number one, it's fair, and number two, I wanted to essentially boot out those ones that are that don't. Some people are willing to invest $20 to learn something. Some other people are like, oh, $20, like I'm not gonna pay $20. If you're the latter type, like, you probably shouldn't come to the workshop anyway, because I'm pitching you something that's $3,000. So it's a really cool way to actually segment the market. And for those people that came, and I didn't really have any intentions, really. I didn't think about this psychologically or anything. I just thought $20 was fair. Like, you want to, like, it's cheap. It's $20. Everybody has $20, and come listen to me for 2 hours. And I just thought it was fair. So that's what I charged.
I like that you excluded the dummies, if you will, right? Like, I wouldn't want them in the room either, but like, did that cover the cost of the room? $20 from everybody to at least cover your cost for the night?
No, it covered the ad cost.
Oh, okay. So it covers your acquisition.
Yeah.
And so I'm sitting in the room, and like, the people that are there, to your point, they were excited. I sat in the back of the room thinking I'd be like out of the way, and you had a ton of chairs. I don't know how many chairs you had out, probably 100. And I actually had to get up and leave my seat because there was still people coming in, and all of them were like, have you seen Tom before? Do you know? And I'm like, yeah, I know Tom. And I was just all nonchalant, right? Because I knew you, and they were like, oh my God, he seems so smart. I really want to learn this model. And like, there was a bunch of people chattering on both sides of my ear. And you had mentioned even people would stop you in town, and you're that guy from Facebook.
Yeah. That's it's interesting because I don't want to be known as that guy. Like, I actually would rather I would rather live a little bit more low key life than, like, look at me, So yeah, I mean, there's pros and cons, but I remember talking to Mike Dillard at a mastermind that we're at. He said, Steve. I talked to Steve August. He's like, don't think about it so much like, oh, this is the Tom Wang show. Think of it as like, you're really helping yourself. You're helping other people. And whenever someone does approach you on the side of the road, take that as like it's not about you, Tom. Don't think of everything as like, oh, like, I don't want to be viewed that way. I don't want to be like, don't think about it. You're serving someone else. So whenever they come up to you, I was never like a dick or anything like that. Cause the thing that pissed me off the most is actually watching YouTube videos of like celebrities, and someone's like, hey, can I get an autograph? And they're like just the biggest dick. That was like, I try to be very, very nice to every single person I meet, because I just don't want to come off as like those people. So yeah, but it was weird. Like I would still get recognized, like even DoorDash and Uber Eats when they come to my house. They're like, "Oh, you're that Amazon guy." It's like, yeah. Hope you didn't spit in my food.
So to break down your pitch even further, you said it was like a well manicured pitch. I think what I took away from it was your passion, I guess, right? There's like you said earlier, there's a lot of bullshitters out there, a ton of them actually, and a lot of people who will happily throw up a video on YouTube with an affiliate link in the bottom just to try to make, click my link if you're going to buy this stuff anyway, right? A lot of fake reviewers out there too. But your passion shone through, right? And that's really why I wanted to get you to tell your story today. You talked about your childhood and how it was hard. You talked about going to getting kicked out of 4 schools, right? And finally graduating and then finally like pushing yourself. And towards the end, you tied it back around to your mom and really got passionate about what this meant to your family and what it meant to you. And then more so, you talked about like how you actually truly want to help people. Like, I don't think you can fake the emotion that you showed in that room that day, and I think everybody in the room felt it. So whether this is going anywhere on this podcast or not, I just want to point that out to you, man. There was like real, honestly, like you touched the room that day, and there was clearly a lot of people who felt the same way because your close rate is insane. So like that night, our friends Kayvon and Tony and Michaela showed up, and we were all going to go out to dinner, and dude, you closed like a third of that room. Is that a normal close rate when you're doing this in-person stuff? Like webinars have like 10% is a good day from what I've heard on a webinar, right? And so you closed way more than 10% of that room.
Yeah. 20% is a good day. The best I've done was like 25%. The worst I've done was like 10%. So 20% is usually a good day.
And that's impressive, right? Like you're pitching them, come learn more from me, come learn in person. 25% of the room is a lot of people, right? Like, I mean, there was at least 100. It was spilling over into the, kind of out the door at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, people want to learn, man. Like Amazon is hot right now. Everybody shops on Amazon. Everybody knows Amazon. I mean, yeah, like that's really it. I mean, it's a hot offer, I guess. Like,
help me understand the rest of that puzzle, right? So you close that part of the room, you sell them whatever, like a $3,000 offer, whatever it is. And before I forget, I want to make a point. You close the room, and rather than give like a discount or like to make an offer, take a discount off today, you actually change your messaging to I want to invest in your business today. So rather than charge you this amount, I'm going to charge you less, and I'm going to invest that in your. I wanted to give you kudos on the messaging there because that was pretty incredible. But like, what happens after that? Talk me through the next part. So you took over Tony and Michaela's old office for Vesti Footwear, right? In giant 10,000 square foot office, which probably sucks right now. We can get into that a little bit.
3,000 square foot. Yeah.
3,000 square foot. Okay.
$10,000 a month though.
Yeah. And then that has to suck right now. But like, what's the next step in that? And we can get to coronavirus because I'm sure it's affected you in many ways. But what's the next step on that journey, right? So you have them in. Is it just a 2-day weekend thing? Do they get a course on the back end? Yeah,
they get a 2-day weekend workshop in person. They get a course after, so it's like a full recording after. They get support, Facebook group. And all these different things. So, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. They get lifetime support, like to call it. So, from other students, from myself, and so on and so forth. But yeah, that's pretty much the offer. Yeah. Pretty simple.
Well, I thought it was pretty interesting, like the whole thing, man. I was thrilled to watch you do it in person. I've seen some videos of you with your class in that office and like doing the weekend thing, and clearly your passion showed through. I thought that was really cool. But while I was there, you were striking a deal with our friend Abdul as well to like take this out of Vancouver. Turns out it was probably pretty perfect timing. What can you tell me about like what you're doing now, as far as now that you've transitioned into something different?
Now it's just an online course. So everything is basically online because of COVID. I struck the deal with Abdul because due to COVID, my business went to zero. So yeah, I mean, Abdul, if you guys are listening to this podcast, you guys probably know his story because his story probably got released before mine. But he's done really, really well in the course space. And he's already got the operations and everything figured out. So it's just a matter of actually plugging in another subject matter. In this case, it was me. And I already have the content. I already have the course. I already had everything. So it was very easy for him to actually just turn on some marketing channels, plug in some sales guys and team, and just turn on the faucet. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So for me, you know, it was a good transition because I already have the foundation set. I've already been teaching Amazon for 2 years. So I have all the content. I've done ads. I know what kind of works, what doesn't work. So when he came in, it was just a matter of, okay, how do we take this thing online? How do we scale this thing? So, I mean, that's exactly what he did. And now, you know, it's doing really well.
So I get asked a lot about partnerships. What are your thoughts on partnerships like this? Obviously, you and your girlfriend are a partnership in more ways than one, right? Your business and in real life. Talk to me about this partnership, though. Like, I get asked all the time, you know, what does it look like as far as, and you don't have to go too deep, but like, what does it look like as far as contracts? What does it look like as far as like divvying the task? And I think a lot of people are scared to like have a partnership like that.
I think the biggest thing in a partnership is that you must have complementary skills. So if usually in business, there's the big ideas guy, and then there's the execution, right? So you can't have two big ideas guys because then no one will do the execution. You can't have two executors then because then no one will have that vision. So you got to have that vision and an integrator. So I think that's really, really important. And also you got to talk about like, hey, if we're going to be partners, what are you going to be doing and what am I going to be doing? It's got to be crystal clear, right? So for Abdul, it's super easy. Abdul brings me the students. I take care of the students to get them results. It's crystal clear. So everything I'm doing now is thinking of different ways and strategies to help my students to get more results on Amazon, right? Whether that's the latest info, latest hacks, tricks, tips, support, whatever it might be. And his job is, again, just bring me the students. So I think knowing what each other's responsibilities are is one of the most important things. And from there, in terms of partnership, I'm a pretty fair guy. I'm pretty easy. So most of the partnerships I do are just 50-50. I just chop it down the line. But again, that also depends on some of the partnerships as well. So
no, I'm a big fan of partnerships. I get asked about them all the time, whether I'm on a podcast or talking to somebody else. And I don't see how anybody does a business without one, if I'm honest. Currently trying to find or working through something with a couple people on this pets biz. Like you said, I want to focus on growth and vision and not focus on day to day doing all the things that need to be executed all the time. So I want to talk to you about your actual biz, right? We don't need to talk about the brand name. I cracked a joke before we started recording and acted like I was going to say it, but I won't. I do want to talk to you about it though. Like, you do very well on Amazon. Mm-hmm. Are you able to talk about how well you're doing, or like some of the things you're doing that's working over there? And then when I was up there, you were positioning it to sell, and I'd love to ask you like your experience with that.
Yeah, we do well on Amazon right now. We're doing about like 500K a month, 600K a month in sales. So that's cool. And then we were positioning to sell, but then COVID hit, everybody backed out. We had some offers. And what we decided now is actually kind of try to make this business blow up in a sense that I want to learn how to build like a real D2C brand. So I don't want to just keep launching products on Amazon. I mean, yes, I will keep doing that. Not saying I'll never do that again, but I'm just saying that I think there's a lot of opportunities to scale the business outside of Amazon. So that's kind of what I'm focusing on right now. Is how do I build a true brand? How do I run Facebook ads, Instagram ads, retargeting, email, all that type of stuff. So in terms of so that's pretty much that. We were, positioned to sell like right before COVID, and again, got some offers, which was really cool. Like, hey, this is real. People are actually wanting to buy the business, and and we decided to just basically keep it. Well, after COVID hit, everybody pulled out. So we decided to use this time to actually adjust a couple of things. Our business is not the prettiest. There's obviously some buckets that needs to be holes in the bucket, so we decided to plug those. And but now, I don't think it's the best time to sell right now. I think the market is not really valuing these businesses properly. So I think I'm going to spend the time to build a true brand, kind of like Vessi, and maybe one day sell on a multiple on revenue instead of multiple on EBITDA.
Talk to me about your struggles there, man. Obviously you're a wizard at Amazon. Sales, I think if you just give Amazon what it wants, sales kind of come, right? Like first off, $500,000 or more a month. Congratulations. That's amazing on that. You kind of just shrug that off like no big deal. Yeah. But like being able to maneuver Amazon is one skill set, and building DTC is a very different skill set, right? Like you said, there's a lot to do on the other side that Amazon's basically doing for you. They're bringing the buyers to you, right? And so where is your struggle there as far as like moving off of Amazon and trying to, build up another channel? And then like, have you ever stopped to think, is this worth my time as far as the lever you could pull if you put that much amount of time into Amazon versus putting it into trying to build off of Amazon?
I think right now I'm at the point where I just like challenges. It's not so much about the money anymore. So like our course is doing well. That's all cash flow, right? So like I don't really need any more money right now than it's coming in. So I think right now it's more so what is going to provide me with that challenge, and what is something that I haven't done before that I want to try and conquer. So DTC always in the back of my mind, but I just felt like been super comfortable on Amazon so far, and I'm sure a lot of other Amazon sellers feel the same way. It's not very hard. It's actually pretty easy. If you just exactly what you said, if you give Amazon what they want, what they're looking for, you can rank, right? So for me, it's like, okay, let's try something new here. Let's do something different. Let's be challenged. Let's fail at something. So that's kind of where where the shift's coming from.
Sweet, man. The only last thing I wanted to talk to you about was like how, and I really haven't touched on this with anybody else, but how has coronavirus like affected you, especially on the Amazon side? You had to be deemed essential in order to actually get your products into Amazon and get shipped on time. Obviously, there was a lot of headaches back in March and April and May. What can you tell me as far as how COVID-19 has affected your business?
I mean, COVID-19 has been, first of all, let me just preface by saying one thing. I would prefer if COVID wasn't here than our current situation. And my heart goes out to everybody who has COVID-19 has basically negatively impacted their lives, whether their jobs they're out of jobs, they're this and that. So I just want to preface by saying that first before I say the next. But COVID-19 in terms to my business has been the biggest blessing because I saw on Amazon and all the malls are closed. People don't want to go shopping anymore. So where do people go? On Amazon. Yes, there are challenges of selling on Amazon during this time, such as the restrictions that you said about, but you just get around that by doing like 3PL and stuff like that, right? So there's always these different things you can do, but the amount of traffic on Amazon is insane. So I kind of call it like the COVID lift, right? There's a lot of businesses that experience the COVID lift. The coaching business, I mean, it went down to zero, but I didn't just sit at home and cry. Like, oh my God, like I just lost a 7-figure income. Like, what do I do? Like pivot, right? So I'm like, hey, what is the next step that I should take? I should go online, right? I can reach people online, but how do I get there? I can learn everything by myself, or I can partner up with someone and shortcut the process by tenfold. So I decided to partner up with a dual, and now we're doing really well. So I think in every single sort of disaster or pandemic or whatever it might be, there's always an opportunity. There's always an opportunity. So it's just a matter of accepting that. And okay, how do I how can I pivot right now? How can I go find my customers, and how can I adapt to the situation? Because like Darwin said, right, it's not the fittest or strongest or whoever, it's the ones that is the most adaptable. So I think in the past 3 or 4 months, that's been the case. You got to adapt. And there's a reason why these big businesses are going out of business. It's not because, anything else, but the fact they didn't adapt quickly. Like, I mean, Zoom should have never existed, in my opinion. Skype has been around for how long? Right? Google Hangout has been around for how long? They own that space. So how come Zoom came out of nowhere and dominated the market? Well, Skype didn't adapt. It's been the same user interface since the day I started using it. It's never been great. They didn't keep trying to invent and evolve and just they were too big to fail. But unfortunately, now Zoom is taking market share. JC Penney and all these different stores, they just didn't adapt, right? Walmart, there should have never been Amazon, right? Walmart should have been the dominant online player.
They're still not doing it. They still don't get it. You know what I mean?
They're doing a little bit better now, but I mean, are they too late? I don't know. Maybe they're not. Maybe they are. But
I think we're seeing a big evolution right now, honestly. Like whether this, obviously, same as you, like the whole thing sucks in so many ways for so many people, but we're seeing a real shift to online, right? Like there's never been a better time for you to move into online business. And it's only going to continue this way for a while, unfortunately. But I think we're seeing a shift in the way people think, the way people move online. I think there was a lot of people, a large percentage, some of my family members included, that don't know how to use an iPhone. They never ordered on Amazon. They've never ordered anything on the internet. And this pandemic, while it did a lot of bad things, it forced a lot of good things into the future, if you will, right? You call it the COVID lift. I don't know a single online business that's down. Like everyone I work with on a consulting basis, everyone I'm friends with, my own businesses, we've all seen quite a lift from this pandemic, and I don't see it changing. Like, what other industries do you think are going to evolve from this?
Oh man, what other industries are going to Can you just rephrase your question?
Yeah, I think that a lot of industries have seen a lift, but where do you see things evolving? Right. So JCPenney, you just brought up, there's no chance anybody's going back to a mall on a regular basis anytime soon, right? I think a lot of these brick and mortar stores are going to have to evolve into online. I think cloud kitchens are going to come to the forefront as more and more people want to get delivery. You know what I mean? That they aren't going to restaurants. So, is there anything you see that's going to have to evolve and adapt and move into the future?
I read an article somewhere that was about this topic. There's a lot of things that running through my head. I'm just trying to remember the article. There was a lot of really interesting things. Let me think. Telemedicine. I think that's huge. I've been using my telemedicine app in Vancouver here. I think that is going to do really, really well over the next few years. Grocery delivery. I think that is during the pandemic, I was only ordering groceries on my phone, so they were delivering to my house because I didn't want to go to a grocery store. So any sort of delivery services, I think that's huge. The furniture space actually has exploded. I think people are spending more time at home, and people are buying more furniture to make sure their house looks a little bit better. If you go on any furniture stores right now, everything is sold out. Like Christina bought something the other day. It was in July. It was going to come in August. It was going to come in October. I'm like, what's the even point of buying it? That's 4 months out. She's like, oh, it's going to, time's going to fly, which is true.
Same way in the fitness space too, man. I've been trying to get gym equipment here for 4 months. And it's so, you can't find anything. I've been able to get some resistance bands and a couple kettlebells. We got a Peloton here, which was pretty cool. But other than that, it's been very difficult to get any fitness equipment and like you said, furniture as well.
I mean, anything online, man. I feel very blessed. I feel very grateful for the position I'm in. I know there's a lot of people out there that maybe are not in this position right now, but at the same time, you have to realize that no one's going to come and save you. No one's going to come to your house tomorrow and knock on your door and be like, hey, blah, blah, blah. No, it's not a Disney movie, right? No one is going to come. There's no Prince Charming coming to save you. The only person that's going to save you is yourself. So stop feeling sorry for yourself. Instead, turn that energy into something where, if Tom can do it, you can do it as well. Maybe you don't need the $500,000, $600,000 per month Amazon business, but what if it's only 10% of that? What if it's only $50,000, $60,000? So you heard my story. I mean, I'm no one special. I'm just a regular guy, really. I don't think of myself as anything. I just kept on trying. I asked the right questions. I have good people around me, and I never doubted myself that I was going to be successful one day. But yeah, I just, it's all in your mind. It's a lot of it is in mindset. And, if you can just have that mentality of failing is okay, I think you're going to do really well.
I think there's no better time than the present. It might not seem like it to start an online business. I really like the area you're in. Obviously, I still sell on Amazon. How can more people find out what you're doing, or where can they go find your course, or where can they find you on YouTube? Is there one general place you can send them to?
Yeah, you can go to my YouTube channel, I guess. Just go to type in Tom Wang. That's probably the best place. You can go to masterfba.com/video to watch like the preview pitch, I guess. And then you can book a call with my team to talk more about your situation. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
And I'll put all of that in the show notes. Appreciate you being on, buddy.
Awesome, man. Appreciate your time. Thank you for having me on.
Thanks so much for Tom coming on the show. I appreciate it very, very much. If you want to check out what he's doing, go to masterfba.com/video. I'll put that link in the show notes, or head over to YouTube, search Tom Wang. You'll find all of his content over there. Also, check out his podcast, The Tom Wang Show. Again, I'll put a link in the show notes. If you have the opportunity, please, please, please just go to Apple Podcasts and leave a review for this podcast. It helps me reach more people and get better guests on the show. So thank you so much for leaving a review. Thanks for joining us today, and I will see all of you next Wednesday.